All right, Rob's having major technical difficulties. I don't even have an intro video. I don't have an intro song or anything. Rob is supposed to join us. He cannot get his computer to work, his mic to work, nothing. So we're just jumping right into this one tonight. Tim, this has been a labor of love for you for many, many years. I've watched, you and I have been talking behind the scenes for months. I got a chance to watch the documentary like 6 months ago. But this started with you writing the case for patriarchy. Like that's where the idea of it birthed. And I was just like thinking back on how much your show and your book has even affected my thinking on this issue. Watching your episodes of Sea Mask with you guys, and it's been such a profound impact on the cultural conversation. Like so many of the guys we see today, Andrew Wilson and the whatever podcast, the guys that go on the whatever podcast, Chase, like Sovereign Bra, like all of those guys read your book and they bring what they learned in that book to their arguments for things like that. Like, how's it feel kind of just finally seeing this thing, your baby, finally put out into the open?
Vindicating. It's crazy because I announced the writing of Case for Patriarchy in 2019 on that Mad Frad show in August. And then I debated Trent in September of 2019. It was like, boom, boom. And there was references to the fact that I'm starting to write this book. And they're like, what do you mean? I mean, that was where the culture was. You'll remember.
Wait a minute. I'm sorry to cut you off, man. Like your debate with Trent on feminism was before the book. When you just started looking this stuff up. Is that how that went?
It's when I had a bunch of the resources collected, you know? And so, yeah, that was 1 month after I announced it on Frad when he was still in Georgia. And back then people responded to the fact that I was attacking like all feminism with like, what? Now everyone just shits on it. Everyone just immediately responds to, okay, how much feminism am I allowed to infiltrate what I'm doing? And that's a tremendous vindication. But in the 2 years it took me 2.5 years to get that book out, there was a lot of drama that we don't have to revisit tonight, but a lot of drama, and that itself was a labor of love. And Sophia Institute Press really had a lot of chutzpah to eventually publish it. And then after we did that, over 2 years ago, I conceived of the film. I was like, this is perfect to storyboard for a documentary. And I pitched it at the Disney World RV park to the director, Nick Stumphauser. And I was like, this would be the greatest documentary ever. And what he brought and I storyboarded a storyboard, and then he kind of took it, and I think it's one of the most entertaining documentaries I've ever seen. So we'll see if people agree. But yeah, it's very vindicating to have it out. Thanks.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know the behind the scenes stuff that you dealt with. Like this documentary, after it was done, there were many places that Tim tried to get it to go. I mean, a lot of people looked at it, and they were just, some people that you would have thought would have jumped on it were just too timid to do it, because Tim does say some very controversial stuff in it. Women need to be thin, for starters, was one that everybody was kind of a little taken back by. When did you guys start Sea Mask? And Mike, how did you start coming across this stuff?
Dude, I was a Sea Mask fan even when I was a Protestant, a couple of years ago. I was watching it in 2022, 23, when it was Tim, Dr. Michael Robillard, Will Noland, and then, Elliot Hulse, which Robillard and Elliot Hulse are now Sea Mask alumni. And then before, again, I became Catholic. I mean, Sea Mask was such a big part of me becoming Catholic too. I was listening to Tim's stuff forever, and again, this is not to glaze my homie over here. I love him to death, but there's a Mount Rushmore
of the episode is to glaze.
It is. I mean, I have to say though, if there's a Mount Rushmore of like, patriarchy, coming back to the forefront, Tim's there. And this was a message in my ear way back when. And then I think Will connected me with Tim, and then I was doing a lot more work on the red pill on my social media stuff, and so Tim was like, dude, come on Sea Mask. And then we hit it off, and kindred spirits, and like, dude, be a permanent part of the panel as a Protestant. And then it was 3 or 4 months later I became Catholic, reverted back to the faith. So that's how I ended up with the Sea Mask crew.
I mean, I became friends with Mike because of Sea Mask. Mike and I are hanging out this weekend. I'm going to Canada tonight, or like I leave my house at 2 a.m. I'm flying to Canada. I'm going to Banff National Park. And Mike heard I was going to be in Canada. He's like, I'm driving down. We're coming down. We'll come and hang out with you guys. So I'm going to actually see Mike in person this week. And it all started because of this little project Tim started.
Yeah.
And but even just the evolution of my, I don't know about evolution, but like the progression of my own thought on this issue, because I started thinking about how mutual submission, how disordered it is, and how, because Tim, when you started talking about John Paul II's feminine genius and how that was kind of like the first fissures of feminism into the church, and how all of that actually led to altar girls, and now what we're actually facing in the church right now is this issue of mutual submission with synodality, where the clergy is listening to the laity instead of them being the head. Like, it's just this whole feminism crept in and it led to synodality. And if I can't see the crisis as anything but that at this point.
I hadn't even thought of that. I think you might have put that bug in my head last week or something, but I hadn't even thought about it until you said it. It's like the receptive part being more active than the expressive part, the passive part being more active than the active part. What does that sound? I mean, not to be gross. Sorry, I know we keep things G-rated, but that's what that is. When the clergy is listening to the congregation, it's the we'll keep it G, but when you know the male part of the plug and the plug in the wall, it's try to reverse that.
It's essentially sodomy. Right?
Yeah,
like it's because we did a show talking about Michael Matt last week, because Michael Matt was defending Lila Rose, because Lila Rose is out there telling men not to watch pornography. And I'm like, I kind of went off on him. I'm like, no, Michael, like, your generation is the generation that gave us this rot. And it's because all of you were white knighting and simping for these girls because you were all afraid to say no. That's really what it comes down to. You saw that with the Piers Morgan interview with Nick Fuentes yesterday.
Yeah.
It's just pervasive through that entire generation. All of them were afraid to say no to women when they were supposed to, and they turn into these white knights and these simps. And it really is like the craziest thing that we've witnessed over the last couple of years is how much the culture has flipped on this issue, and everybody talks about is simps and all this. It's crazy how much we've seen happen in the past couple of years.
Yeah, I think that it's because of voices like ours shouting this into the ether. You know, I don't mean to overinflate my sense of importance here. I feel like I'm a nobody in a room full of somebody. It's not just in this podcast, Anthony, you're nobody, but here with Tim. But I think social media has moved the mark on this conversation in a massive.
Oh, Rob's with us to join us.
Yeah, I got it all working.
All right,
let's go. Yeah, I mean, social media has shaped this conversation massively. I remember, Tim, your interview with Matt Fradd back in 2019 was one of the most hilarious things I've ever. For you guys in the chat that haven't checked out that interview, please go and do that immediately. It was so good.
That always tells the story of I'd gotten like 2.5 hours of sleep because we were at Disney World the day before, and we had to the night before we drove in at like 3 a.m. to Atlanta, and I wore some button-up shirt. And it just kept more buttons throughout the interview, just kept coming undone. So it looked like, Andrew Dice Clay. By the end, I'm like, hey,
you can blindfold these people with dental floss. We're giving them licenses.
Yeah.
It was perfect. Line.
Yeah.
But you were telling that story about that fat woman telling off her husband because she got the wrong soda pop from the pop dispenser or whatever. And you could just see, Matt's red pilled on this stuff now, praise be to God. But at the time you could tell, like, it was just so uncomfortable in that room.
Oh, he was so fearful. Yeah, but I'm like, what's something he said about me a couple months ago publicly is, I talk one-on-one with my homies on my podcast, or I guess on anybody else's podcast too. So he's like, yeah, that's something, you say, but I'm like, I just say what I believe, the same as if we're hanging out. And this shit just happened to me. I mean, this happened to me 12 hours ago. We stayed at Disney World as long as we could and left at 6 p.m. the night before and drove to Atlanta straight away. And it was happening in the parking lot. Steph, I mean, you think I'm extreme. You should hear Steph when she hears some woman bad mouthing her husband. She's like, that whatever. She's like, you're not nearly cute enough to be this rude. And that really, I don't know why that comment really made
that's
Matt.
the craziness of the whole situation. You will have these unattractive women being awful to their like fit husbands, and the guys just take it. And it's just one of those things when you see a woman being like awful to her husband, there's something that I get like this visceral anger in me when I watch an emasculated man being beaten down by his wife. It's just such a gross thing to witness.
Well, you got psyoped into the relationship in the first place, because if it's a fit or even half fit guy with a fat woman, then there's some psyop happening no matter how you slice it. And so whatever. I mean, that's not the whole thing. But so it started out, and that sounds kind of flippant, and that sounds as if there's not intellectual heft behind the whole movement, and there was, and that really was. If we're doing in like etiology, that was the beginning of this entire chapter of my life. And I'm like, man, I wish I'd thrown some of the amazing papal quotes. Pius 10, 11, 12. You had 4 popes really in a row, 4 good popes in a row, with Benedict 15 in there saying some stuff. But you had Leo 13, Pius 10, 11, 12 saying women don't deserve equal rights. Women don't deserve the vote. Women don't have the same rights as man. She must always remain under man's control. And then all of a sudden, poof, it just, the story that scripture was written only for its time evaporates. These are the greatest 20th century popes. And there's 20 centuries between Christ and Pius, the 10th or 11th, but there's 1 century between them and us. That proves that it's a timeless principle. It's a done deal. It's fake. You can't be Christian and feminist.
What's crazy is like the early centuries of the church actually had to work on men, because men were like the idea, because we have this idea that marriage predates Christianity, but not really, not the way we know it today. The idea of monogamous marriage between one man and one woman is very Christian. And that gets worked out in the first few centuries of the church, where the church starts putting this calling on men. And they do it by reading Paul, where Paul's like, you slave masters, you can't just go and rape your slaves. Like, there's a bodily sacrality to your slave because of the resurrection. Husbands, you have to actually remain faithful to one woman, because if you look at non-Christian nations, you look at Islam looks at us and they're like, one wife? Are you out of your mind? What, are you gonna have one woman? Because Christian marriage is very unique. So you have these first centuries of the church where the church is working on getting men's lust under control, and they do a really good job at it, and it kind of subdues the earth. It gives men time to join monasteries, because now we have these consecrated virgins and things like that. But then over time, what has happened over the last 4 or 5 centuries is we made things so good for women that they were able to just get a little uppity and start getting a little out of pocket. So really the church should now spend the next century focusing on getting women in line, because men are pretty good. Like, if you really think about it, like, men for the most, I mean, yeah, you're always going to have the philanderers, and you're always going to have those guys. But for the most part, we all understand as a society that a guy who cheats on his wife is a POS. A guy who steps out on his family, he's not a good guy. But we're in a culture now where women who do this, like, there's no amount of lives a woman will not destroy if it gets in the way of her happiness. That's where we're at now.
Yeah, no, I agree that I would never hang out with or want to spend time with a guy who is a POS if he steps out on his wife. But here's something that the church needs to start teaching that binds all of these other propositions together. In theory, a woman cannot be a good Christian woman without being a good wife, because women were made for men, right? Men were made for God, though, right? Man is the glory of God, woman's the glory of man. So theoretically, I don't know if I've ever seen it happen, but theoretically, a man can be a good man and not a very good husband. Now, I don't see it play out that much. All the good men I know are either priests or good husbands. But theoretically, the telos of life, the mission, is the husband's, and the wife is literally just his supporting character. The main character energy is the man. So we have to start saying that a wife literally, if she's not living a consecrated life, if you basically obeying her husband is how she gets to heaven. and helping him with all his projects, and she has really no projects of her own. And
for the most, oh, I'm sorry, Tim, I didn't mean to cut you off.
I'll just say, we'll know that feminism has truly died. It seems to have died, a year or two ago, but no, it will truly be cognizable as dead in the water when we can say it that way. And everyone's like, well, of course, woman was made for man, not man for woman.
And you actually do see that play out in marriages like a man will either lead his wife to heaven or lead his wife to hell, because essentially this comes down to what all the arguing comes down to. And what really upsets me when I see Catholic influencers, and especially the Catholic Inc. guys, defending some of the stuff that they defend, is what they're telling women is you don't have to be holy. Because it is an intricate part of a woman's holiness to be submissive to her husband, and a woman will not go to heaven unless she submits to her husband. We're talking about, it's no different from the Protestant who refuses to submit to the Church of Rome. If you do not submit to your husband, you are on the road to hell, and it's as simple as that. So all of these guys who support someone like Lila, because Mike, you said this on Tim's show today when you were talking about the red pill, and you said, because Tim mentioned like the red pill gets the right diagnosis. And you're like, yes, they do. But I'm at a point now where there's so much like off in it that I'd rather not even touch it. Like I'd rather not touch it at this point because, a little bit of rottenness will spoil the whole bunch essentially. Right. So if you're looking at these so-called Catholic women in the pro-life movement or anything, there's a little bit of poison in what they're saying, and they're teaching girls to be girl bosses, so it poisons the whole well at this point, which is why this stuff actually needs to be addressed. This is what the Catholic Longhouse is men who kind of want to get on Lila's podcast, so they want to have a good relationship publicly with her, so they won't call out the insanity that she spews.
Yeah, it's just hand holding. It's just a social media hand-holding. They don't want to have the difficult conversations. But guys are looking at seeing through it, especially the Zoomers. Zoomers are so done with that garbage. And the future of social media with these guys coming on the scene, these women are going to get altogether ignored. They're getting tired of getting finger wag. They're getting tired of being longhouse. They're getting tired of, them pretending that all of the world's problems are on men's shoulders. And hey, I'm the first one to say, and I'm sure you guys will all agree, that men carry like the lion's share of the responsibility, but allowing us to perpetuate this fallen solipsism that women have that are innate to their nature, and they're wanting to usurp authority, is not doing them any good. And so this like gentle way of delivering, there's a way to deliver the message, but being overly gentle and tickling ears is not the way that you correct course. I think there's almost got to be a bit of an overcorrection. And I think these women, 99% of them, unless they're consecrated women or women like Mother Angelica or Mother Natalia, they should just be off social media altogether. I think they add, I don't think they do enough good to outdo a lot of the bad that they're doing. That it's just unjustifiable to me, and I'm tired of seeing it.
Tim, I wanted to get you on, especially because I just know what this thing has been for you. Like the past I think you sent it to me about 6 months ago when it was finally completed, and you sent it to me, and this was like right after you got all the Ripperger footage put together, and I was just blown away by it. Like if you guys obviously tomorrow, it comes out tomorrow at 10 a.m. on Candace's network. I promise you, if you go and spend the money on it, you will not be disappointed. It's an hour and a half of just like, you don't want to take your eyes off the screen. It's a phenomenally done documentary.
Yeah, thanks. And it's only $1.99. When I was talking to Candace's CEO and husband, George, they were playing with $3.99, and I was like, look, I have a vested interest, but let's make it where people can't complain. Let's make it the best price for a 90-minute movie ever, for $1.99 for a new 90-minute movie. And, it's under $2. So, it debuts tomorrow, 10 a.m. CST on CandaceLawrence.com.
11 Eastern.
Yeah. I think no, because somehow Nashville is CST, which is counterintuitive. It's so far east of other people in the CST. Yeah, it's 10 CST, I believe. You have to do like you got to go on a promo tour for this thing, man. I hope you called in favors with everybody, because I want to make sure this thing gets out there. I have. And like, I mean, Tucker's seen parts of it because he was seriously considering it. He switched basically producers halfway through the film's production, and that kind of changed its outcome. We showed it at Daily Wire. We showed it on $1 million screen at Daily Wire. And the movie guys there in their what's their movie house called? Their Pendragon. They were like, this is like one of the most beautiful films we've ever seen just to look at.
Yeah.
And we were watching it with Michael Knowles in studio, and then 2 of their execs in the movie thing. And they're like, how did you do this for under millions? Daily Wire has such a big budget. They're like, wow, you did this for like $250,000. That's incredible. This looks like a multi-million-dollar film, which it really does to look at. And a big source of my pride is just the crappy QCing, the low QCing of output in the Catholic world and the Christian world in general. The films and fine arts in general are just, I'm not talking about the medieval ages. It ain't the medieval ages anymore, where our quality control is near the floor. So just to put together something that's beautiful and like dope and entertaining, that's going to capture all the I have a lot of groypers in my audience. It's going to capture all the young men. And already has, for the ones that have seen it. We've test screened with a lot. Just like, this is really cool, and you're not going to want to take your eyes off of it. So,
because I'm thinking back to even the drama of the Cabrini movie, right? Like everybody wanted to pretend that was such a good movie, and you were the first one that came out. You were like, this movie is trash. It sucks. It's a girl boss the whole way through. And I remember watching that movie, and I was just disgusted watching it. And everybody around us was like, no, this movie's great, promoting. I'm like, I don't know, man.
It's like, Eduardo called me, and he was literally like, he's just a gentleman. He's like, so why don't you like it? We want to impress you. We like your work. And I was like, it's feminism all the way through. It's shot through with feminism for 20 minutes. And he was like, well, and then we showed him what we had then. And he was like, wow, this is impressive. He was like, I think these older guys, Gen X and boomers, just don't know. They don't understand what Nick Fuentes was telling Piers Morgan. Like, we're done with it, man. Like, racism, sexism, anti-Semitism, it's all funny. Like, no one cares. Like, okay, well, then we're going to hit you with the nuclear option. People died. Don't care. Men subjugated women. That's not even true. But even if people died in the past, if it's in another century from mine, it's funny. And we're going forward with what it takes to, this was a trajectory, not a Roman salute. And so we're going forward with a different program, a Western civilization reclamation project, and far more important than even reversing the finger wagging, the pearl clutching, and the beard stroking over racism and anti-Semitism is the sexism thing. Because, like Father Ripperger said on a show today, it's over 99% of the homes everywhere are just run by these awful women.
Even the trads, especially the trad. That was why I did the show on Michael Matt, because Michael Matt's supposed to be this leader of the traditional movement. And I'm like, he is so off on this. And he was playing clips on his show he's like, well, should this woman shut up too? And it's this woman out there telling men, you're created for more and you should be. And it's like, no, she shouldn't be saying this.
Yeah, of course she should shut up.
She shouldn't be saying this. She shouldn't be calling men to do this. And then he played a clip from a nun speaking at his conference. And I'm like, well, Michael, like, think of it. How weird would it be if that nun got up and started talking to men about pornography? Because that's what the issue came down to with Lila. With Lila, it's just it's immodest and it's just out of place. Like, these women should not be doing this. It's just, the one thing I do worry a little bit about, and a lot of it is because of X and just seeing how we all handle, like everybody handles himself on X, is the irony poisoning and kids getting so black pilled on it that they think they can never find a wife. And there are still good women out there, and it is still good to get married. And it's like, because that is the proposition of the red pill. And I think if we don't make sure we let men know, like, you still do find your purpose in life as a husband and a father, and there are still marriageable women out there that are women that want to be led.
Yeah, I mean,
but
That Mike,
Yeah,
you take that.
Yeah, there's not enough dudes kind of stepping to the forefront and kind of telling these guys to still have hope, though. I mean, if you look on X and you go down these rabbit holes, it's mainly a rabbit hole of doomerism, mainly. And if there's one thing, getting back to the earlier point, that I absolutely agree with Nick Fuentes on, is that the untouchable topic is not JQ, it's not race, it's not anything, it's women. This is why nobody wants to touch this topic with a 10-foot pole. Even a lot of the people that are quote unquote based, they do not want to shake the hornet's nest, if you will. And this is why I think it was so difficult to get this taken on by anybody. And I think it's going to make, regardless if there's massive promo or not, I think it's going to hit the right people. And I think especially Gen Z are going to look at this and actually come out of it not black pilled, but actually hopeful. You know, there's not enough guys telling these young dudes that, hey, you know, you're keeping it in your pants, you're staying chaste. A lot of these Zoomers understand that they're returning to the faith in droves, they're returning to tradition in droves, but there's so much black pill and nihilism going on X. Like, it's hard for them to sift through it, right? They've got all the piss and vinegar, and the next thing you know, they're voluntary celibate because they think they're all OnlyFans models, or there's just no hope. It's like, dude, that's so antithetical to the gospel too. Yeah,
the only thing, I'll do you one better. This is a total white pill. Most women out there, by the time they're graduating high school, I taught high school for 8 years total, and I know it's bleak in some sense. There are some girls that have been really slutty by the end of their senior year of high school, but it's really college where everything gets wrecked. The point of no return is, you know, when a girl's body count goes really, really high, or, you know, I guess the scale gets tipped really, really high. Anything other than that, even if she's a feminist when you meet her, even if she's a leftist when you meet her, even if there's, you know, whatever, a mistake or two in the past that's not super Catholic, even if she's not Catholic, if she's Protestant, if she's super secular, a Chad will just be like, no sweat. I like the way she looks. I like her sort of core personality. I'll just make her be Catholic. And that's not, see, when the guys that have no game hear that, a generation raised on the internet, this is the one problem with the Zoomers. Me and Anthony were talking about this the other day. They have no game. They have no confidence in IRL. When a Chad hears that, he's like, no problem. I like how this girl looks. I like how she acts aside from the leftism, and you need to be Catholic. It's like, give me 2 weeks. You know, women are natural followers. Tim, men are natural leaders. Let nature take its course.
The four of us married Protestant girls. They're all Catholic now.
Exactly.
The four of us.
Nothing. Steph was just a nun.
But that's the point. Whether she's nothing or she's Protestant. Like, the four of us married. So, because you caught a lot of crap for this, and I say the same thing. It's like, I don't care if my son meets a Protestant girl, I'm like, that's fine. Like, she's gonna do what you say.
Yeah,
she's going to do what you say. So it really isn't that big. I don't feel the same way about girls meeting Protestant guys, because
no,
it's a very big different story. But like, if a guy like Tim said, and look, and also you guys, I know you guys are all watching, like, all these young guys are watching like the red pill content, and they're saying, like, you guys have to be realistic about this, and there is a lot of rot out there. So if you meet a girl with one or two mistakes in her past, you can't hold this perfect ideal sometimes, and you have to have a little bit of mercy in that. I'm not saying Nala Ray, you know what I mean? Like, that's the point where it's like, okay, that's the point of no return. But a person who made a mistake or two in their past, like, you cannot hold anybody to that level of perfection at this point, just because of how rotten the culture is, in my opinion.
I've been saying that for a long time. It's like, hey, if we want to live in a better, or leave a better society for our children, you're going to have to make these concessions. And a lot of guys came at me so hard because a lot of these dudes are, you know, they're virgins. Good for you. That's a good thing. That's absolutely virtuous. You're going to meet women, and they're not going to fit that bill to a T. You've got to have some grace. Only you know what that sort of threshold is for you in terms of how much you're able to deal with. You know, don't go marry an OnlyFans model or a stripper or something crazy like that. But yeah, you get these red pill dudes that act like FAGs, and then on the other side, you get these Thomist dudes that are looking for Thomist women. You're like, what's wrong with you, bro? What is actually wrong with you? Go find any kind of woman who's attractive, who's like not, you know, a purple-haired feminist who's not vehemently opposed to Christ, and you will convert her. It's not exactly the Chads with some riz don't care about this stuff, because it's like, hey, come here. You're gonna come this
And
sit with me.
it's not just that, Mike.
Seriously, it's like someone that goes into a comedy and they're looking for drama energy. It's like
Exactly.
even if she's a purple-haired feminist, does she have good facial structure? Is she thin? And is she kind of cool at her core? You can work with that. You tie that shit out of your hair, man, and wear this. And other than that, she wants to follow you if you're cool. The problem is the guys don't know how to be cool. So I don't like to do the what about the men though, the Andrew Wilson thing, and just always blame men. But it does come down to these guys just being dorks.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, dude, like there are tons of women out there who are stuck with men who don't know how to lead. Like we do have to work on men and teach them how to be men because they've grown up in this emasculate. They maybe didn't have good father figures because we really are dealing with a crisis of fatherhood right now.
Yep.
And so many young guys have never had mentors or had a father figure in their life the recipe for a kid becoming gay is an overbearing mother and an absentee or like the father who's afraid or just emasculated completely. Like that's a recipe to turn a kid homosexual. It just is. So a lot of these kids may not have, they may be straight, but they did grow up in that situation and they need help, and if we're not willing to at least lend a little grace to those guys and help them because these kids need help, man, I'm telling you.
Well, that's what CMAP was all about, right, Mike?
Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah, I mean, we were calling them out, but I think in a way that calls them forward and doesn't just inflame their insecurities further. Because there's a way to do it. If you're shining too much heat on a man, he's just gonna cower. He's gonna fold like a cheap suit. Especially nowadays, where I mean, dude, I grew up in the trades, so being around guys, you're just if you do not know how to keep up and you don't have a thick skin, you are the bottom biatch of the crew. You just simply are. And a lot of these guys, they can't hang. They just can't. There's got to be a bit of, okay, man, I'll help you walk forward, but I'm gonna push you over, but I'm gonna pick you back up at the same time. That kind of actual masculine direction. Listen, I was one of those dudes. I was raised by my grandparents and a single mother. I had no idea my masculine identity. What the hell was that? I felt more comfortable around women. And I realized I need to get around more dudes that I want to be like, get to the gym, lift some weights, live, virtuously, be around guys and emulate that, and grow in virtue, find myself a good woman, and then sort of figure it out. And a lot of these guys, I mean, they're not going to do it sitting in their basements, not doing anything about it too.
Mike, it's hard to imagine you. I know I've seen the pics of you when you were heavy, but you're like, dude, I need to start lifting some weights. And you, whatever day that was, you just started and you just haven't stopped. You've been lifting weights. Mike's lifting weights right now.
Yeah, I'm doing leg extensions right now, dude. Actually, back in the day, I'll show you a picture. I looked like a fat lesbian.
I've seen the picture. You were still strongish. You're still very strong.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Look like a fat lesbian secretly.
That's what I was going for.
You're trying to say how handsome you always were.
The thing is, the Daily Wire not picking up was strange to me because it was kind of an answer. Like the reason you named it this is an answer to Matt Walsh's question, right? What is a woman? What a woman is. This is what a woman is. So it would have been a good fit there. I'm kind of glad it didn't go there.
Yeah.
I hope it's successful over at Candace's network. I'd like to see her promoted a little bit, and I'd like to get to the bottom of why George Farmer refuses to acknowledge me. Like I gotta figure this out because I'm the only
probably the ducking.
I'm just saying I'm the only Catholic podcaster that George Farmer doesn't like best friends with. I don't know what's going on with that.
What have you invited him on the show?
No, I don't know.
Why is he ignoring me? Well, maybe because I haven't talked to him.
How does one get in touch with George Farmer? I don't know. I'm just broken jobs.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd imagine he watches your show. I think he's mentioned your show before to me. So he watches a lot of Catholic content.
That's what I hear. I hear the guy does watch a lot. So, all right, George, there's a little message to you. I better get a phone call soon. All right,
I might have made that up, but I don't think I did.
I just trying to. Well, I've been making you feel good the whole episode. It's nice you make me feel good for a second.
Yeah, false glaze.
What are your next stops on promo tours? You got anybody else to show you going on?
I'm going on Elijah Schaefer and Sarah Stock's shows tomorrow. I guess right as the thing's coming out, and yeah, I don't know. I'm buddies with Michael Knowles. I don't know what the official stance is on allowing kind of promotions there, because we did offer it to them, and they were all impressed with it. But it's just they're like, this is a little bit. Yeah, we offered it to everyone. I mean, we offered it to Tucker, very interested. Michael Knowles, the Blaze was very interested for a while. Candace at the end of the day is just the one that has the chutzpah to do it. So 10 CST tomorrow, $1.99 on CandaceOwens.com. You can go look at this thing, and we're really excited. So
yeah, I can't $1.99. That's honestly, I mean, I already watched it and I'm gonna pay for it. So I would like to see everybody that watches the show. I mean, you guys can afford $2, but let's give this thing a good big push early on. I have to wake up at 2 a.m. So I told Tim we were going to keep this thing at like 35 minutes, 40 minutes. Tim's got a bunch of stuff he's going to be doing soon. I want to see everybody in our audience go spend the $2 and get this thing popping off. Mike, I'm looking forward to seeing you Friday, brother.
Me too, bro. Pray that we get there okay. It's a 5-hour drive with little kids, but we're stoked. My wife is stoked. It's going to be good.
Yeah,
I have FOMO happening. I have real big FOMO happening. I guess that, feminism is really just about the friends we made along the way.
Not for nothing. These broads brought us together. I don't know.
It's true though. It absolutely did. Otherwise, we wouldn't all be talking, would we? No, not at all. We got to get Tim. We got to get. I'm going to say it here live. We got to get CMAS going again.
No, 100%.
It's coming back, boys.
It needs to come back. It was never ended. It was just Nick left. Then we were all, and then Will has the craziest schedule ever. He's like tutoring Chinese children, and like his date book is just more filled than anything. That guy's a workhorse. So
he sleeps like 2 hours a night. I'm convinced that guy's not human. He's like, no, he's not human. He's half cyborg.
Terminator. Yeah.
Yeah, because I would love to join you guys for an episode and pitch my whole theory about how the entire crisis we are facing in the church is actually because of this mutual submission issue, where every parish has the women, the Susan from the parish council comes down to the priest of that, the pastor of that council being afraid to tell that woman no. And that's how we get all the disorder we get in every single Novus Ordo parish. It's all because of the men afraid to tell women, no, we're going to have incense here. We're going to have an altar rail here, and I don't want to hear anything. We're not going to play that crappy song anymore. We're going to play something a little holier. And like, you could actually fix the liturgy in some of the worst places in the country if you just got some men willing to tell these women no. So
right. Yeah, we call it the what do we call it? The parish warblers. We feel like the crappy singers in the Novus Ordo parish, when we go here and we don't go to the TLM in New Orleans, we feel like it's like, 5 women stronger each time. It's like 20 last week, 25 this week, and they're just doing the warbling thing, like
they do that. All of them do that.
They all do the warbler. It's disgusting. It's terrible music. They have a terrible voice. I want to do the Larry David thing where you just go and you're like, all right, wrap it up. Good job. Great work. Now go back to your seats. Like, just stop. Just go back to your seats. We need the music is the worst part of the Novus Ordo. I hope we can all agree on that. There's
not to mention when Ephesians 5 comes up. It's always just, oh my gosh, dude, you're sitting there like, what am I listening to? Right? If they even talk about it at all. Oh,
I know.
A quick anecdote about that. When my cousin Eddie got married, like, you have to choose your scripture readings for the wedding. And my cousin chose Ephesians 5. And the priest was like, really? You want me to read the whole thing? Like, he was shocked. And he said it to his wife, to his fiance at the time. He's like, you're okay with me reading this? And she's like, I want you to read it. What are you talking about? Like, the whole thing was that's the purpose of marriage. What else would you read at a wedding? I don't understand.
See, I wanted to make this point earlier. I think conceptually, I think this might explode your brain. When you were struggling to articulate that because it is a weirdly expansive concept, that there wasn't marriage before Christianity, before Christ elevated the Jewish covenant to the dignity of a sacrament. The reason it doesn't count as true holy matrimony, drumroll, is because the Jews, obviously the Muslims had polygamy, the Jews had polygamy for half the history up to Christ. And then even once it had to be monogamy, what did they have? They had legal divorce. If you enter marriage with legal divorce, that is not holy matrimony. Yeah, that's not real marriage. So real marriage is uniquely Christian.
Very uniquely Christian. It's It's yeah, because I always get a little frustrated when I hear people say no, marriage predates religion, and it's like not really. You know,
Very
you go
normie
back,
shit.
you
Very
go back,
normie.
you read the Old Testament, you go back and read through Genesis. They all got 90 wives, and then you get even when you get to First Kings, and it's like David's got 150 concubines, and Solomon had 400 wives and 700 concubines. Like that's not marriage. And
Yeah.
it took Christ coming to elevate it to a sacrament to give us marriage.
Yeah. Yeah, it's also why Judaism and Islam are both so carnal. It's also why the red pill's so messed up. It's just for Jews and Muslims. It's run by Jews and Muslims. Red pill. It's a limited thing out. It's a psyop.
It's definitely a psyop. I mean, you look at even Myron. Myron's like a legitimate Fed. He's like a literal Fed.
All of them are. The Tate
well,
fathers, CIA, or Myron's father was in like DHS or something. Even Pearl, who's always been friendly to us. Even her mom's in some UN thing. They're all spooks. They're all they glow in the dark. And I don't know if they do, but they're from these families, and that's why they have the opportunities. And it's definitely a limited hangout.
Yeah. Yeah, it's why your channel never blew up, even though you were talking about the same concepts, because you're actually talking about real Christian patriarchy, where they're just talking about debauchery.
Yeah, they're just like here's how to like, bang Dallas, bang whatever. And that guy, the Return of Kings guy, is the one red pill guy that actually repented and went away. Roosh V. And props to that guy. He actually went away. He won't even do interviews now. He's just like making pizzas in his mom's like basement. And he just went away. He's like, I have to repent. And he's Orthodox.
That's what every one of these women should do that come from. Like, that's really like the only when you live a life that publicly shameful, like you really do need to go into hiding and live an ascetic life. Like you really do. That's the only proper way.
The mass murderer, the mass genocidist known as Abby Johnson killed 22,000 human children and a couple of her own. And instead of going away, and literally, they want, Nick Fuentes is he who shall not be named, like Lord Voldemort. He's a good guy. He's it's literally a virgin, as he was saying on Piers. Just cares about everybody, says he wishes the best for everyone, prays for his enemies. I know this for a fact from behind the scenes. Never killed, not even one, not even 2 or 3 humans. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, just assess how much you are all brainwashed and psyoped. Abby Johnson is foisted in your face, and she's killed 22,000 human beings. And she's not living a life of quiet penance. She's foisted in your face and she's profiting off. It's disgusting. The pro-life movement has always been vile because it's led by feminists, and they're all witches. So
yeah, it's actually like it's, and not just that it's not just that she's a pro-life leader. Like, she killed 22,000 children. Now she makes money off of, like she's profiting off of that. Like, it's kind of crazy. Like, she's profiting financially now, not just from when she was performing it, but now she goes and pitches that story. It's almost like bragging about your past sins. I don't know. It's really disordered.
And they'll never talk about getting rid of abortion altogether either, because that would cut their business off. It's stopping 10% short of the mark, which if you're not going to go all the way, you're not making any, meaningful step toward solution. You're just padding your pockets right up until the very end. It's total BS, total psyop in and of itself.
Yep.
Thinly veiled garbage.
They usually fight against laws that would actually ban it completely.
Exactly. The mental gymnastics that they do to justify those points. They don't want to get rid of those cushy multi-6-figure salaries and $50,000 speaking engagements. It's demonic at its core.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, Tim. Well, first off, I'm grateful just for how much you've helped me on this issue, because it really has shaped my thinking on it. So, yeah, and even you, Mike, like watching you guys on CMask all the time, like it really did help me. Because it's not like I was always the head of my home, but actually being able to like think this stuff through and recognize how much of a problem this stuff is at the root of our culture and why everything is so disordered. You guys have played a very big part in that. So guys, go check out Tim's documentary tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern on Candace's network. It was just CandaceOwens.com.
Yes. Thanks.
CandaceOwens.com. Tim, thank you for everything, man. Appreciate you. Mike, I'll see you on Friday.
For
Love
sure.
you guys.
God bless you
Thank
guys.